I'm sure you can relate to the feeling of not being smart enough or not being educated enough, or maybe it comes across for you as not having the credentials or something official, that will make you somehow magically qualified for something. I think most people can relate to that. And it's something I've struggled with a lot in my life. And so today we're going to get really up close and personal with me, Brenda, Florida, life coach and lifestyle advisor. And I'm going to share with you some of the sort of intimate and make myself vulnerable details of part of my journey in my life so that you can get the idea of where I'm going with creating this program enough already. I am such a big believer in the journey of my life has taught me that no matter how diminishing and disempowering a belief or a thought is, like, I'm not smart enough to do something, I'm not smart enough to get a good job, I'm not smart enough to make more money, I'm not smart enough to go for that promotion, open my own business, anything like that. That is so diminishing and so disempowering. And if I can overcome that from where I was coming from on this, which is kind of bottom of the barrel actually, you can do it too. And that's why I'm creating this program, Enough Already. And so you can sign up today to be an Enough Already insider, and you'll want to do that because even though I'll be promoting the program probably in the next couple days and opening registration for that, and you could wait till then, but if you become an insider now, a couple cool things are going to happen. You're going to get a discount, first of all, on the registration price that others are not going to get. And you're going to get some super awesome bonus content. But all of that is on the webpage for Being Enough Already Insider, which you've got the link to here. So you can go there. I'm not going to spend the time today to go into that. Plus, you probably already heard me talk about it. But if you haven't already decided to become an insider, do it today. Do it today before the chance is over, because that bonus content and that extra discount on the program is going to end when the insider period is over. But let me get back to my own story. So I grew up in a family that didn't really value education. It certainly didn't value women. Now, I grew up with all sisters, so I didn't have a sort of comparison of having a brother that was favored. But there was a very unconscious, unspoken, overtly, message that girls were just not as important, not as valuable. Why did they need to get an education, past high school? Because whatever, we're going to be mothers, stay-at-home mothers, and be involved in church and, whatever those things. And so no need for an education. And so I didn't really even grow up with the idea that going to college was important or that it was something I should do or think about a career. What did I want to be when I grow up? The couple of things I used to fantasize about that I wanted to be, which is very interesting to me now when I look back on it. I always wanted to be a flight attendant, okay? Because when I was like 5 years old, I was on a flight by myself going from San Francisco to San Diego to visit my grandma, and the flight attendant let me serve mints. They served an open bowl of mints, like this was back in the day, right? This was the mid 60s, at the end of the flight to everyone on the flight. And you just reached your hand in and took out a mint. We wouldn't do it that way today. But anyway, the flight attendant let me do that. And oh my gosh, I was so thrilled walking up and down that aisle serving those mints. It was just, still obviously brings me joy to think about that. So I really wanted to be a flight attendant. Never thought about being a pilot, because as a girl, it wouldn't have occurred to me that I could be a pilot. So thankfully, these things are changing, and there are people, women who grow up in environments where they know they can be anything they want to be. But that is not my story. So I'm just sharing that to set the stage a little bit for this thought of I'm not smart enough. So now we're going to fast forward. I'm in high school, and I did not want to take the SATs. Like I said, I didn't really even have an ambition to go to college. But everybody's taking the SATs. I didn't want to do it because I was afraid my score would be so low that it would just be humiliating to me personally. Like, it's kind of like, I don't even want to know what that is. So I just didn't think I was smart. So then I get married at the ripe old age of 18, right after I got out of high school, to my high school sweetheart. I guess that's probably a given at that point. Who else did I know? But that was great. I was very much in love. I wanted to get married. Soon afterwards, about 6 months or so after we got married, I got pregnant because I wanted to. We wanted to start our family. And so then, I had 4 kids in 7 years. So I'm busy being a mom. And again, I just still feel like I think I'm pretty good at being a mom, but I don't associate any of that with being smart. And I have this whole thing about, I could never go get a job anyway because I don't have a college degree and I'm not smart. So, whatever. Thank goodness I've got this gig at home, right? And so then fast forward, I decide to get into real estate. And, that's a fairly, in most states, a pretty low threshold kind of business to get into. You take a couple, it's usually about 30 to 60, somewhere in there, hours of classroom time, and then you take a test, and boom, you're a real estate agent. So I did that because a friend encouraged me to. I would have never done it on my own. And I was terrified that I would not be able to pass the test, that I'm not smart in math, and I wouldn't be able to pass that part, and, whatever. So I have all these not enough thoughts. I pass the test. I get into real estate. I do okay. And now fast forward a little more and I'm getting divorced. And now suddenly and I know because of the, realities with my, what would be my ex-husband, that there wasn't going to be a lot of child support, certainly no alimony. And so I needed to figure out how to support these 4 kids. And it was terrifying to me because I didn't have a college education and I didn't think I was smart enough and I didn't think I was really good enough at real estate to make a lot of money there and all this stuff. Well, thankfully, as life sometimes does, it brings other people into your life at a time when you're ready to help you go to the next level. And so I had a mentor who I went to and I said, okay, like I've got to make more money than I'm making and I'm trying to figure out, what I can do. And he suggested that I go to the owners of our company and pitch to them the idea of me becoming the office manager for this real estate office, the first full-time, non-competing, meaning I'm not selling real estate anymore, office manager. So, because he believed in me and maybe my desperation and just knowing I had to figure out how to feed my family made me get over that fear of not being enough. It made me act in spite of it. I wasn't really over it. I was terrified and I didn't really feel like I could do it necessarily, but I thought, well, if he believes in me and I can sell it to the owners, I'll figure out how to do it once I get there. So that's what happened. And I started managing my first real estate office. And truly, I felt totally like an imposter. A lot of you have heard there's some books now written about this imposter syndrome, where, you just kind of feel like you're playing dress up and somebody's going to figure out you're an imposter and you don't really know what you're doing, which is all just the whole not enough on steroids, right? So I did that. But, in that kind of fake it till you make it way, I just kept showing up and wanting I had a very serious intention to be the best that I could be and to really impact these people's lives that I was managing. I wanted to be a good manager for them. And, one success led to another and led to another. And I did very, very well in the real estate career, even though I don't have a college degree. But it was because I allowed myself to be healed or to disempower some of those not smart enough, not educated enough thoughts. And I did it with a lot of help from other people, coaches, therapists, and so that's what I want to bring to you. I'm just saying, I have been here and done this, and I could tell you 10 other stories about different not enough thoughts that I've sort of conquered, and I don't even know if that's the right word, but I like the word disempowered because that's what you do with these thoughts. It's like taking a balloon that's all blown up, right? Like I'm not smart enough, and you put a pin in it, and sometimes it explodes and it's just popped and it's like, oh, I'm free from that disempowering thought. And other times it's like a slow leak and you work with it for a long time. But over time, it loses its power. It loses its power to limit you. And so this is what I want to share with you in Enough Already. So watch for details coming out soon about that program and how to register for it. But go right now and register as an insider, sign up as an insider so you can get those cool bonuses I recorded with my friends, and you can get that extra, super awesome discount on the program when it opens up. So I hope this inspires you. I shared that story to say, like, I've been at the bottom of the barrel to feeling very confident about my abilities professionally and personally and how smart I am. And so if I can take that very big journey, so can you. And I can help show you how to do it. So I hope you'll join me as an Enough Already Insider. And then when registration opens in the Enough Already program, and we're going to empower ourselves and free ourselves from those not enough thoughts. Thanks everybody for joining me.